My name is Raven, welcome back to my channel, and today I'll be talking about the books I've read for over like the past 4 or 5 months. So let's get into it. Hello guys, I am here to talk to you about the books I've read for the past 4 or 5 months, and I guess kind of explain why I don't do wrap-ups and why I don't do TBRs. Okay, TBRs. I don't do TBRs anymore. Like, I tried to kind of do that, but I learned I don't just stick. I don't stick to that TBR. Like, I don't stick to the list I'm gonna read, just because I kind of read how I feel, and I feel like when I do that, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to read faster and to get those books quickly, and I don't want to have to feel like I have to do that, just because it's really not a race to read a book, or to me it's really not that important how many books I read in a month or anything. It's more important to me that, that I enjoy the book and I actually am understanding what I'm reading and not just reading it just to get through it and end up being like, oh, I did not understand a damn thing that I just read, and then do a wrap-up later and explaining all the books I've read and then being like, I don't know what I don't remember I read, and just kind of BSing my way of what I thought I read. So that's why I don't do that. I feel like it's a waste of my time and your time, because I don't really read a lot like in a month. I usually like read like a book or two a month, just because like I take my time with them just to really enjoy it. So yeah, that's just how I prefer it. So that's the thing on the wrap up and some TBRs. So I think what I'm gonna do is maybe do like every couple of months of what I've read, maybe kind of maybe to do that, maybe some sort of wrap up, but not like a monthly wrap up, just because I feel like it's a waste of my time to like, hey, read this one book this month and talked about the one book. I mean, I guess I could do a review, but we'll see if I actually end up doing that. I'm just quite nervous to do a review, just because I don't want to like ramble on or something. I don't know. I am thinking about doing like a book review on some books, maybe getting more into that, 'cause I haven't done a wrap up yet. Not a wrap up, a review. I've not done a review yet, so we'll see if I end up doing that. But I guess I'll talk to you about the first book I read. It was like January or something. It was Mockingjay by Suzanne, and this is the third book in the Hunger Games series. Yeah, the third book in the Hunger Games series, and this concludes the series and Katniss's journey in the Hunger Games and what she's done, and her basically trying to bring down the Capitol, and what her life ends up being like afterwards, and what she goes through. So that's basically what this is about. I'm not going to get too much into it, because everyone knows what this is about by now. It's been out forever, and I don't want to end up just rambling on about things. Now, I believe I give this like a 4 or 5 star. I did enjoy it, and I just kept thinking about, dang, this girl, she's like, what, 17, 18, she's going through all the stuff. She's been through so much in her life, all up to this point in her life, and she's dealing with like a lot of PTSD and stress and a lot of stuff like that, and there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in this book that she gets put through, that's like so heartbreaking, and it's like, oh my gosh, can't believe we're going through all this. But she's a trooper. She ends up happy in the end. I guess I'll say that. But that one. And basically after that, I ended up reading Cassandra Clare's books. This is probably why it took me forever to read all these books. At least a book, month and a half, just because they were so thick. The next one was Lady Midnight. And as you can see, this is a pretty big book. She big. And this is basically about Emma and Julie and their hair tie. And in this one, she's looking for the people who killed her parents back in the Mortal Instruments War that happened in the 6 books. That happened before this. This takes after like 5 years after that. So you're getting all the extra stuff that you would have read in those books in this book. So like you'll be like reading along, and you'll get like a little bit of a memory flashback from what happened in the Mortal Instruments, like book 5 or something. You're like, oh my god, I know what happened, because you read them. Unless if you haven't, then you don't get that. it was a very neat reading experience. It was not neat, it was a lovely reading experience, getting all that information because I've already read those books, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I really did. And you get to know, like, the characters and all the family. You get very well established with the family. It's in there because Julian has a couple brothers and sisters, and you get so invested, especially with, like, with the twins, Livy and Ty. Like, you get so, like, your heart gets invested in them. And then, you know, things happen, and that is that. And after that, I read Lord of Shadows. This is book 2 in the Dark Artifices series, and you follow Em and Julian and the rest of the family into everything that goes on. Basically, Emma and Julian, they can't be together because of, like, this peptide thing, and they're following them through their little tragic story, and there's more attacks that's going on, and you figure out what that's all about. And I'm being very vague just because, like, I don't want to spoil too much, because I know that everyone doesn't want to get spoiled. Also, what happens in this book is that Em and Julian are trying to get the Black Volume of the Dead and trying to give it to this other queen, so it doesn't end up in the hands of the other fairy king. And they're basically making deals with these fairies, which they're technically not supposed to do because of this cold beast thing that they have going on in here because of the effects of the mortal instruments in the first 6. And so they're trying to deal with that, and I have the Clave know, and Em and Julian are facing this difficulty of not trying to have feelings with each other, and then they end up coming together with this whole big meeting in the end where the Clave is talking about the punishment for Annabelle Blackthorn, who is in here. You didn't know she's in here, and she ends up trying to get tried because the cohort that's in here was taking the credit for killing Malcolm Fade, the warlock that was in here, and it was really Annabelle that did it. Spoiler, but I think everyone knows that by now. And ends up going south very, very quickly, and thus going into Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices trilogy, and basically ends it. And you follow a lot of people, because well, they end up coming together in the end, but you follow, like, Mark Kieran and Christina's point of view, and what they're going through, and their love lives in triangle and whatever, and how they find out that Emma and Julian are in ferry to find the Black Volume of the Dead on behalf of the head guy, whoever his name is, the council, or whoever he is in this, whoever the head guy, basically, to basically kill them. And they end up tracking them down and finding them together, and also Jason and Clare are missing as well, and they end up coming together, and then all of a sudden they get taken off to this other world, and they're like, what the heck are we at? And they end up finding Annabelle there, and they end up coming back, figuring out some stuff there, and then going back home, and then fighting the cohort because they are basically racist people against downworlders, and end up basically making a deal and separating the Clave, not being Idris, and then it's a whole big thing. Like, it's you follow all these people, and you can even follow like, who is the other lady in here, Diana, and the other guy, I can't think of his name right now, but he's the leader of the Wild Hunt, Gwen. So you follow them too, and you follow their other sister, who has a wife. You follow her too, and you end up following Ty and Kit, who ends up becoming a big part of this too, because Kit and Ty are struggling with grief as well, because a big tragic thing happens in the end of Lord of Shadows, but I'm not gonna tell you because, you know, that's a big spoiler. So you follow all these storylines and, like, point of views that end up coming together in the end, and end up ending and finding a conclusion to how the cohort and the normal shadow hunters can coexist in some way. So that's the best way I can say that without spoiling anything really big and major. And there's a really cute part in the end with Magnus and Alec, and I absolutely enjoyed that because it's like, yes, yes, you get it. I loved it so much. It was great. Like, I was crying so hard at the end. Like, I'm telling you, it was so lovely. It was very, very nice ending for this book. At least it was better ending than what Lord of Shadows ended. And I think I gave these like all 5 stars just because how sophisticated and well developed these books were, just because you can tell that Cassandra Clare's writing gets better and better. Like, even from The World Enter, the first 6, you can tell that those were her first books, and I forgive her for that, just because like even if some of the parts are like boring or like really don't make really sense, I look over that just because I know that this was her first ever book series that she's ever written, and that she actually started from, I believe she actually started from fanfiction. I believe she was the one that did. And I have a lot of forgiveness for that just because those are her first books. So don't give too much judgment on them when you first read them. They are a little cheesy and silly and sometimes boring in some parts, but her writing gets better, especially through the infernal devices, and especially in these, like, this is where her writing just gets, like, they go up. Like, I'm telling you, like, this is so the characters are so fleshed out, and the fight scenes are so detailed, and you feel like you're actually in the world. Like, you can tell she did some work on her writing, and there's passion. You can tell her passion is in it too. And after this, another Cassandra Clare book. If you can't tell, I'm in a Cassandra Clare mood. This whole past couple months I've been trying to work through her books and be caught up somewhat, and that book was Chain of Gold, and I gave this a 4.5 star. I enjoyed this very, very much. Now, it wasn't like the Dark Artifices, where it was so detailed and so complex with the storylines and the characters and where they were at and all that stuff. This was basically went down to its roots. Yeah, it went down to its roots where it was simple demon fighting, and who was causing these attacks and this illness, and who is James Herringdale's grandfather. And basically this follows James, Cordelia, Lucy, and what's his face? Lucy, Christopher, Alistair, and Matthew. Follows all these characters who were actually children relatives from the people from Infernal Devices, and they basically follow them and how Cordelia moves and how she's trying to protect her father because he is being tried, and their relationship, and Lucy becoming parapetite with Cordelia, and James basically his struggle with finding his identity and who he is, and basically who his grandfather is, because he has this power where he can go into the shadow realm basically and kind of just slip into the world, and you find out why that is and what that's being done and who is the cause of it. And you also follow a little sprinkle of romance drama, which I call that because it wasn't really so heavily in the romance like the Dark Artifices were. Like, the Dark Artifices was heavily on the romance with Emma and Julian, where like from right off the back, you know Cordelia is in love with James Herringdale, right? Like, she loves him like to death, but he's been having interactions with this girl named Grace Blackthorne, and she is basically, she loves him, but you know that there's something sketch, but I'm not going to say what's sketch about it, and you know that James thinks that he's in love with her, but you know, you're like, no, you really love Cordelia, what are you saying? But it wasn't like so heavily into that. There's like a sprinkle bit of that in there, and you find out that, you know, like, there's more drama that goes in with that, and you know, that kind of stuff, but it wasn't so heavily into it to where, like the Dark Artifices, which I actually enjoyed, because you didn't have to, like, I don't know, I guess I really didn't have to think too much into this book, which I loved, because I had to use a lot of brain power for the Dark Artifices, especially the last book, so it was very nice to have my brain at ease and just kind of read the story and get really into it and just figure out, you know, what's going on with James Herringdale and his lineage, and why they went in the Shadow Realm, and who's causing these attacks, and who's causing all these illnesses, and that is it, which I enjoyed. So I give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and the rest of them were 5 stars from all there. So those were all the books I've been reading over the past, like, couple months. I ended up, I have this weird thing where like I read series, and once I read them, I just keep going. And lately I just been wanting to read some Cassandra Clare just because I haven't really read much of her. It was like around last year when I read her Mortal Instruments again. It was a couple years since I've been reading them, so I remember I was in middle school or something, and I just read it randomly and I really liked it, and then I just stopped. And then last year was in quarantine, I was like, I'm gonna pick these back up and read them, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I just kind of stopped, and then I was reading the Infernal Devices and kind of just stopped. And then I read Clockwork Princess and I absolutely loved it. And then I got the Dark Artifices, which I started reading, and I've read them all back to back. So, and then the Chain of Iron came out, and I was deciding whether or not I should read Chain of Gold now or later. And I decided to read it now just because I can go straight into Chain of Iron, and that's what I'm doing. And that's just a story of that, because I want to get through all of her works of the Shadowhunter Chronicles and have a collection. So that's just about it. I think I'm going to bid you guys adieu on this video. I hope you guys are having a lovely morning, day, evening, night, wherever you guys are at in the world, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, talk to me about some of the books that you've been reading, or if you read any of the Cassandra Clare's books or whatever you want to say, or leave an emoji. I don't care. I don't mind. Hopefully I'll see you on my next video. Bye.